Okay. All right. Good morning, Chevra. So let's get going. The topic that I threw out today was, I think, the secret of Jewish success, or something of that nature. And obviously, everyone's in the pursuit of something to succeed. And if you even think about the terminology that's used throughout Israel during this time, is Yachad Nenatzech, which exactly that's what it means. Together we will be victorious. We will win. But I want to parse out the word net nitzachon, to be victorious, to its root word, which also speaks about netzach, which means like eternity. That whenever a person's successful, success can't be temporary. Temporary success. If a person builds a business and then the next day it falls apart, it's not that it was successful for a time, but real success means it's an eternal success, right? It's temporary. A person, has a goal in life that they want to achieve, right? The achieving of the goal is critical. And then once you achieve that goal, that could be a permanent goal, unless something about that goal doesn't stick. So I want to take us down a journey of a very different way of thinking, which I think is at the core of the way Jews approach their challenges, and we'll see it embedded in so many different areas in Jewish life. But it doesn't have to start this way, but we'll start it tethering in a very interesting Rashi, one of the classical biblical commentaries on the Torah, in the beginning of this week's Parsha. So this week's Parsha starts with the words of Impichu kosai telechu. If you go down my laws, and then it says es mitzvosai tishmaru, and you watch my mitzvos. Rashi over there says it sounds kind of like a duplicate, right? If you follow my laws and you look at my mitzvahs, it says, what's really the difference? And he brings down the following words. He says, what does it mean, b'chukosai telechu, you go down my chukim, my laws? It says, amelim b'torah. It means you work hard at it. He doesn't say it's the fulfillment of it, the achieving of it. He says, actually, the success of that role is the effort that you put in. And I want to hone in on what that means, the effort that we put in, because it actually redefines the way we view many different phrases, and will be realized that this is peppered in within so much that we have in different places in Jewish life. So, for example, we know in English, which is actually as well a statement in the Mishnah and Pirkei Avos, in English we'll often say no pain, no gain. The way it's referred to in Mishnah is lefum tsara agra. According to the tsar, the pain, the effort is the reward. Now, normally the way that that's understood is, well, of course, the more effort you put in, that means the more success you will see. But that's not what it says. It doesn't say because of the more effort you will therefore see more success. It says lefum sa'ara, according to that pain and effort you put in, agra, that's where the reward is. Meaning in Judaism, we don't really view it as the end goal. We view it as the effort that's put in. In the morning, we have a custom, it's not really a custom, it's more of a halacha of saying Birchas HaTorah before we do anything, before we engage in anything that, there's different categories of brachot, of blessings, but before we engage in Torah, there's a blessing that we say in Torah. And the bracha isn't to learn Torah, it says la'asok b'divrei Torah. Asok is like asek, asakim in Hebrew is business. It means you really work hard at it. It's not saying what I learn, it's saying the effort that I put in. And in life, there's two ways to view about our end goals. Even if we take, let's say, what's happening now, we should see ultimately the Yachad Nenatzeach on the highest level. But what's Nitzachon? Right? If a person doesn't achieve the final end goal of success, they'll say, well, it hasn't been successful yet. But what if we started viewing things as success is what I do in the moment? Meaning right now, let's say you have a young man, a young woman going out to defend Israel. They're putting their life on the line to defend Israel every day. That day where they wake up and say, I'm committed to being there to help the Jewish people, that in and of itself, right, is a success. And the reason why, according to Jewish philosophy, we're not as focused on the end goal as determining the success is because the truth is the end goal is often out of our hands, if not always. It means there's a bigger sub-level picture that's taking place on God's level. And what is it that I'm supposed to do? I'm supposed to give it my all. Let's take it to a simple level of where a person's on a diet, right? A person could say the goal of the diet is I want to lose 40 pounds. And until they lose those pounds, right, they have not been successful. Or if a person's mindset is I want to be able to control my urges, right? I don't want every time that I pass by a snack cabinet to feel, because ultimately that will lead me where I want to go, but it's not the end goal as much as the development of the personality of self-control. That means permanently, every day that I do something, that's an undeniable and irrevocable success for that moment that takes place. And all of a sudden, you start to realize that the effort in Judaism is really considered the success of what we have to achieve, which is both beautiful and challenging. The beauty is, means I don't have to keep a scorecard about like just how far necessarily have I gotten. They always say if you're playing a basketball game, don't keep looking at the scoreboard. Just play the game hard. And if you play the game hard, when you're finished and you look up, you're gonna most probably have won the game. But your goal is to give it all when it's out there. In fact, there's a phrase that's said in the beginning of when people learn. It's also said as part of a siyum when a person completes learning an entire tractate. The line in this parak says, "Anu amelim v'hem amelim," right? We work and they work. Anu amelim umekablim sachar. We work, the Jewish people, and we get reward. Hem amelim, the rest of the world, hem amelim ve'eno mekablim sachar. They work, but they don't get reward. What does that mean? Like, why should we get? Why do not get? If everyone's doing good stuff, it says no. The way it works in the world is in the outside world. If you don't deliver, if you go to your boss and you say, "Hey, listen, I put in 37 hours extra overtime. I gave it my all." Right? And I said, by the way, like I totally botched the case and I lost, right? The chances are you're not going to be there. If that keeps going, you're fired, right? As opposed to a person says, you know what? I just keep giving it my all. All I care about is giving my 110%. And that's all that God really asks of us. And the greatness is I don't have to worry about the pressure of the result, right? But the challenge is I have to be honest with myself. Am I giving it my all? They tell a beautiful story that there's this person who was like part of the Jewish community. He faded off and went out, and his father was always trying to bring him back. And one day there was a very great rabbi, I think it was Rabbi Edelstein, that was coming to town, and he said, "Just come hear this rabbi speak." Right? There's a rabbi coming. He didn't even know who it was. He's like, "Dad, I really don't care. Just do me a favor, just this once." So he comes to hear the rabbi speaks. The father's thinking to himself, I don't think this really did anything for my son. And the son said, "Can I go speak to him afterwards?" Goes to speak to him, has a whole conversation. And father says, "What was that all about?" And the son clearly was quite impacted. And he says, "I remember when I was a kid, this rabbi came to speak at our school. And he came into our classroom. And in our classroom, he started to ask the kids questions. I don't remember. He was 6, 7, 8 years old, whatever the age was. And he's up there going through each kid and asking a question. And he asks a question, they answer, and it goes on to the next kid answer. He gets to me, he asks me a question, and I botch it. So he asks me another question, right? It's kind of like in baseball, right? You throw the pitch. If you can't hit, you move in a little bit closer. You make it an easier pitch. So he goes in, gives him another one, misses that one, strikes out. Gives him a third question, so easy, and the kid was just botches it. Okay, so he moves on to the next person, tries not to make a big deal of it. Anyhow, the end of the class, so something's about to happen. All the kids are walking out, and this rabbi is giving out candies to each kid because of the questions that he asked. So this kid's getting a candy, this one's getting a candy, and this kid is so embarrassed, whether he's embarrassed or just upset he won't get a candy or both of those things together. And he gets up to him, and the rabbi looks at him, and he reaches into his candy bag, and he gives him 3 candies. He says, "Why do I get 3?" He says, "Listen, everybody else tried once." He said, you tried 3 times. You got 3 candies for that." And it made such an impact at him that years later, he remembered that. And very often, if we change the nature of what that is, not only does it tell us the goal in life is to give it our all, but it actually encourages us to realize that automatically success is always within our control, because our control is simply the effort. Amelim b'Torah. Do we work hard at it? Oskim b'Torah. Are we giving our effort like we walk into business and we work at it? It's not lilmo to sit. And part of the challenge, I think, especially in today's day and age, even with the concept of Zoom and all that, is that everything is so easy that we sometimes fall into the trap of when it's easy, I will do it. But inherently in that is the flaw, meaning a relationship is developed specifically by the effort during the difficult parts, which can always be done, but you have to be able to engage in that. Remember, there's a story that they tell about a great yeshiva, I don't remember which one in Europe, that they wanted to create this kind of like a lazy Susan. That's like where you have one of these rotating tables so that if you wanted a book, it could come to you just by turning it, like this whole contraption. And the Rosh Hashiva said, "No, You got to get out of your seat, walk, go get the book. You know, you got to put in the effort. It doesn't come to you. You got to go to it. Or, for example, there's a halacha that when a person goes to shul, it says, what's their schar for shul? It says the schar halicha. You get schar, you get reward for how much you walk to shul. You walk 20 minutes to get to your synagogue? Whoa, right? You walk 2 minutes? Big deal. It doesn't even say you get the reward for davening, because chances are in davening, unfortunately, if I can only speak for myself, my mind's wandering, I'm not focused. I can't sit there and say, hey, God, look at this great, intense meditation period. But what I can say is I walked 15 minutes in the rain to get there. That's how important it was. And you see these by the older people. You know, our shul is right across from a lovely building, to Neptune, where you have a lot of older people, a lot of Holocaust survivors. It would sometimes take them literally 20 minutes in the snow to walk across the street in order to get there, but they were there and there at 9 o'clock, right? The average guy in our demographic was like, you know what? I saw it was drizzling outside. I figured, you know what? I'm not going to bother today, right? The effort is something that used to be part and parcel, core of the approach to how Jews lived. And when we get soft and when it becomes easy, there's something that's lost in it. And even more than that, we actually lose what the whole goal of it was, to put in that effort. So I think the message, one of the many messages is when a person actually sees something and they feel like, that's going to be a little hard, that's exactly where the success exists, in the effort. And we see that in the physical realm as well. When a person sits there and lifts weights, if they say this was easy, right, that's there's nothing going on. It's at that moment where they schwitz. The whole workout was just for that schwitz moment of the 13th rep where they feel they can't go on, and up until then they've only done 12. That's the whole effort for all the growth that's over there. And even if a person doesn't actually lift at that time and they just try, muscles being built at that moment. And therefore, this week's Parsha that starts with where there's the blessings and the curses of the Jewish people starts by saying, listen, it's all dependent on just how much effort we give. Do we give 90% when it's easy, or do we give 101% when we feel like it's just a little bit more difficult? And with that, success is always achievable because it's totally determined on my effort. And the reality is, if I do my part down here, then upstairs we hope that God does his part as well. Chevron 945, wishing you a great Shabbos. Hopefully we all give our little extra push and we get a big push from up above. We definitely need that. All right, we'll stop the recording. Any questions, please feel free. And obviously an awesome, beautiful Shabbos to everyone.
Shabbat shalom.